Welcome to G-Man Gaming and Reviews. Today's video is going to be a review of Doom: The Dark Ages, the Doom game that was recently released. So we're going to talk about the gameplay, the story, the graphics, the sound, all that good stuff. So just for those of you who don't know, I haven't actually played Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, but I'm familiar with the classic 90s Dooms games. So, to give you a short summary, the game sort of feels like a mix between Doom and Space Marine 2. It's less of a tactical shooter and more of you're playing as a super soldier. And the game rewards aggression, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So what is Doom: The Dark Ages? So like I said before, it's a first-person shooter where you play as the Slayer, a super soldier built to destroy demons. It's not a tactical shooter, aggression is rewarded, and killing in specific ways restores health and ammo, so sitting back and sniping will leave you out of resources. Like I said before, the game really rewards aggression, an aggressive playstyle that mixes between melee and guns. So the core gameplay overview is it's the classic Doom style arsenal, lots of guns to tear through demons, but it includes modern mechanics like a shield mechanic where you can block and parry attacks, and parrying reflects shots and sets up executions, and an integration where charging with the shield plus executions restores health and ammo. There's limited ammo on maps, which means you must combine shooting and melee for success, especially to get back a lot of ammunition. And it has a fast and frantic and aggressive combat that encourages constant movement. This is not one of these tactical games where you'll be hiding behind a corner and peeking out and shooting. You need to be moving, you need to be playing aggressively, taking out your enemies quick, fast. The game will reward you with health by doing so. So it's somewhat similar to the game Space Marine in that you get extra health. There are health packs in the game, and you do have a shield. When I say shield, like a secondary health pack. But the game rewards you, so by doing executions, you restore health and ammo. So as a result of that, the game really wants you to play. So you get back health by killing enemies, basically. But there's different ways of doing it, and which reward you based on like the complexity of the maneuver. So next we're going to talk about combat and enemy variety. So there's a constant barrage of projectile threats that means standing still is deadly. There are some projectiles that actually home in on you, so you do really have to make use of the shield mechanic. So the game has unique enemies with specific weaknesses. For example, shielded foes that require you to shoot at their shield to heat it up, and then use your shield sword to break their shields. So the combat is about rhythm. It's about combining gunfighter, shield parries, and melee charges and melee attacks into a cohesive whole, which is how the gameplay really plays. So the game has upgrades where you can upgrade your various guns, shield, and melee weapons. That changes your playstyle depending on the upgrades that you get. You have fewer upgrades, but the choices feel impactful due to the scarce gold and limited upgrade locations. And it does encourage replaying missions for 100% completion to unlock everything. So in the game, you use gold, rubies, and one other resource to get upgrades. So the game, it rewards you by playing back previous missions to find all the secrets so that you can get more upgrades. So we're going to talk now about the shield and the parry system. This is a new, I don't think it was in Doom Eternal. I believe this is a new mechanic to the Doom series. So the good thing about the shield is that you can't hide behind your shield forever. The shield meter limits how much damage it absorbs. It can absorb quite a bit of damage though. So you have a parry system which is absolutely essential. So you have green projectiles that are parryable and red projectiles that are not. Now, parrying is using your shield at the last minute, but the parry mechanic is not really super difficult in this game. Like, the timing doesn't have to be perfect. It's actually pretty easy to parry as long as you're not getting overwhelmed with the amount of enemies and projectiles that are coming to you on the screen. So parrying at the last second feels awesome. So you got like dodge, parry, strike. Some players may dislike the focus on shield play because it's different from the other games where you would be strafing to avoid enemy projectiles by shooting. But I think it keeps Doom fresh. For me, it was an enjoyable mechanic. Like, it really changed the way that I would expect a Doom game to be played. And the thing is, as much as the classic Doom games are good, in order for people to keep buying new games, they do need to come up with new mechanics. So I think the shield system is awesome. So you have combat challenges in the game. Like, for example, you have one challenge that requires you to pull out a 3-hit combo on an enemy or a bunch of enemies. So the combat challenges make it interesting because some of the combat challenges are actually really difficult to pull off, especially like the melee combat challenges. In the game, you only, unlike guns which have ammunition, you only have a limited amount of melee strikes that you can use, normally 3, right? And then once you've used them up, you have to wait for them to recharge. So the advantage of using melee attacks is it actually will give you ammunition, strangely enough. So the good thing about the game is that even though the game rewards aggression, it forces you to be adaptive into how you play. You can't just mindlessly shoot at the enemies. You need to combine all the different mechanics together. So it teaches smart and adaptive play rather than mindless aggression. So we've got like cool features. We've got references to the original game, like the upgraded Doom guy face on the HUD. But you also have like really cool missions with like giant mech battles versus massive demons or flying dragons around as if it's a plane and shooting down enemies. The game offers an interesting change of pace as to what you would expect from a Doom game. And I found those missions to be I found the entire game to be really enjoyable, but I found those missions to be a welcome change of pace. So next we'll talk about the story. So the story has good pacing and it reveals the Slayer's story piece by piece. So the Slayer is the character that you play as. So the opening cinematic is actually really cool. So there's a mystery around why the Slayer became a weapon for the alien faction that keeps you invested. And the cinematics are a standout, especially the demonic leaders who look threatening without cliche over design. So I thought that the story was really good for a Doom game. Because when you used to play the originals, you didn't play it because you were playing Doom, you were just playing it to kill enemies. But they've integrated a story into this game, and the characters like King Novak, they actually do feel like they're interesting characters. The setting is almost a mix between, I suppose you could say, grimdark. It's very similar to 40k in a way, in that you've got advanced technology, but the game feels like a mix between the medieval age and sci-fi. So it's a really interesting setting that I found. The sound is, we'll talk about the sound next. The sound has a killer metal soundtrack which perfectly fits the Doom vibe. It's so good you'll want to listen to it outside the game. So the graphics are, we've got a AAA level visuals with a dark, ominous atmosphere. Some maps feel a little bit repetitive in design, but overall the world feels like what you would expect from a demonic invasion. The graphics in some areas, the aesthetic is very sort of grayish, and it does feel like in some places like medieval dungeons and stuff like that. The executions in the game actually look really great, and the cinematics are next level. Especially the subtle menace of the demon leaders. It feels that these guys are really dangerous as opposed to having to go out of the way to show that in the design. It's almost like you get this subtle feeling that they're really menacing, as opposed to it being over the top by them having spikes and the developers going out of their way to make them look like demons. So my final verdict is Doom the Dark Ages is a dark dystopian ride where you are humanity's last hope. Fast, hectic, and fresh-feeling gameplay. Don't expect the classic Doom gameplay in this one. This is Doom reimagined, and it works. So this was G-Man Gaming and Reviews. This was my review of Doom the Dark Ages. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'd love to hear your comments. What game would you like me to review next? And all that good jazz. So I'm working towards getting towards 500 subscribers. So everyone who's subscribing, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one.